Hi everyone, I'm back finally with another video in my 2025 challenge to photograph 250 species of birds in Massachusetts this year. So when I put out my last video over a month ago, I was at 244 species for the year. So we're getting kind of into the home stretch. And I think as many of you know, I've been traveling a lot over the last month, so I haven't had as much time to bird, particularly in Massachusetts. Did put out one video from my trip to France last week, so you can check that out if you're interested. But in terms of Massachusetts, what I'm going to do is go back. I do have a few birds to add to the list that I've seen over the past month, and I'm just going to do these in chronological order. And the first one I saw, I actually have a little bit of hosted video from the site, so it's a little video within a video. So in order not to make the intros too long, let's jump into that one, and then we'll come back here and continue on with the other sightings. Hi everyone, I'm here standing in the mud at a nice birding location called Arlington Reservoir, which is only about 10 or 15 minutes from my house. I would probably visit this location a lot more often if my home patch wasn't so much closer, because I live right next to Horn Pond. But in the fall, Arlington Reservoir actually has a lot to offer. As you can see, there's all this mud here. They have control over the water level here, and for reasons I don't fully understand, every fall they drain down the water and create these mud flats. So you get these extensive mud flats whether it's been a dry season or a wet season, because they have control over the water level. So this is a really great place for shorebirds in the fall. And I'm here looking for a specific shorebird, which is pectoral sandpiper. This is the last shorebird that I am expecting to get this year, so anything else would be a bonus. So it'll be kind of nice to get this one on the list if I can find it and know that I didn't actually miss any expected shorebirds this year. So let me take a little time to see if I can tramp around in the mud in my tall waterproof boots and find a pectoral sandpiper. Let's see if we can get it. This great egret was quite conspicuous, standing by itself in the middle of the reservoir. This is actually a fairly uncommon bird in Massachusetts, away from the coast. And in fact, this was my first great egret of the year in my home county of Middlesex County. Another good bird that was much less conspicuous was a small group of American pipits that were almost invisible as they were feeding in the low vegetation that covered the mud. American pipits are fairly uncommon in Massachusetts through most of the year, becoming a little more common in the late fall. I had not seen one since I added them to the 250 bird challenge list way back in January. After photographing the pipits, I started working my way through the shorebirds that were feeding on the mudflats. And it didn't take long before I spotted my target species, pectoral sandpiper. Pectoral sandpipers are medium-sized shorebirds with medium-length yellow-green legs and a medium-length bill. Like most shorebirds, they have brownish plumage with white bellies. So there's nothing about their appearance that really jumps out, and they can be difficult to identify and also easy to just overlook when there's lots of other shorebirds around. The key feature to identify them is the heavy dark streaking on the breast that has a very sharp border with the white belly. And I think you can see that pretty clearly on this bird. Pectoral sandpipers are sometimes described as looking like large least sandpipers. Conveniently, there's a least sandpiper just to the right of the pectoral sandpiper right now, so you can decide for yourself how true that is. By the way, sorry about the way the focus is jumping around. Something about the glare coming off the wet mud is causing my autofocus to not work as well as usual. There were actually two pectoral sandpipers present at Arlington Reservoir, and here they are together. It was gratifying to get this long close-up look at these birds, as I had been searching for them for a few weeks now, both here and also at Plum Island. In addition to the least sandpiper that you already saw, other shorebirds present on the mudflats were semi-palmated sandpipers, lesser yellowlegs, solitary sandpiper, and quite a few killdeer, which you may have heard already in the background. Okay, so back to today, which is the second day of November, and I'm at Plum Island hosting the video today. It's a windy day, and so I'm seeking out some different places where I have a little shelter from the wind. So I've never really ventured on this path for a video before. This just runs along the ocean down by Sandy Point, but a little bit inland. So the next bird that I want to show is one that I saw a couple weeks later in October, but before I went to France still, and that is a Lincoln sparrow. And I picked that up at my home patch, Horn Pond. The community garden area of Horn Pond is actually a great place to get Lincoln sparrow in the fall. So it's kind of nice when you can count on a bird at your home patch. So I was counting on it, and they were being seen for quite a while before I actually got on one, but I was confident that they were there. These look a lot like song sparrows, but they have a little bit of different streaking on the breast with some creaminess to it, and with practice you can tell them apart, but they're really only seen in the fall in Massachusetts in small numbers. They're more of a Midwestern bird, I believe. So just a little comment about my home patch, Horn Pond. As longtime viewers know, what I did last year was kind of a little big year, I called it, where I tried to see as many birds as possible there. And I ended up with 168 species for the year last year, which was my highest total ever, unsurprisingly, since I focused on it so hard. So this year I'm birding much less at my home patch, but it's been a pretty good year there, and some people there have some really big lists. A couple of people are going over 170 for the year. I'm actually at 155 species now for the year without even really trying very hard at my home patch. So that's been kind of nice. It turns out I don't need to bird there every single day to get a good total. So another bird that I picked up from my home patch recently was a white-crowned sparrow, just a couple days after the Lincoln sparrow. That's a bird that I had at Plum Island early in the year, so it's been on my list for a while, but it was nice to see one for my Horn Pond year list. So this white-crowned sparrow is an immature, as indicated by the brown stripes on the head. For some reason, it seems that we usually get immature white-crowned sparrows here at Horn Pond in the fall. Adult white-crowned sparrows have bold black and white stripes on the head. Here's a little footage of an adult white-crowned sparrow that I saw in May of this year at Plum Island. These common eider were passing by close to the eastern shore of Plum Island earlier today. Now that it's getting later into fall, winter water birds like eider, scoters, long-tailed ducks, loons, and grebes are starting to arrive from their northern breeding grounds. So a lot of really nice birds have shown up in Massachusetts over the past month or so. When I was in France, a roseate spoonbill was seen in Massachusetts, and it stayed around for, I think, maybe at least a week, maybe more like 10 days. Lots of people are getting to see it, and I was watching the reports, hoping that it would stay around. You know, at first I was like, oh, there's no way it's going to stay around. And then as I was getting ready to come back to the US, it was actually still being seen, and so I was hopeful. But then the day I got back was the last day that it was seen, so I was out of luck on that one. There was also a white ibis that showed up, and I went to see that one the day after it had been seen. It was seen early in the morning, and then I missed it by like half an hour, so that was disappointing. There was a sedge wren that was seen for a few days during the week when I had to work, and again, I went on Saturday, and there was like 12 people looking for this little bird in all the bushes, and it was never seen that day, so I guess I missed that one by a day as well. There was also a scissor-tailed flycatcher that was seen here at Plum Island in a few locations, but that bird would show up in one location, stay for like 5 or 10 minutes, and then fly away. So there's really no way to chase that one. So I don't really feel like that's a miss at this point. That one may wander back in and be seen again, but you can't chase birds that don't stay around for more than 5 minutes. One bird that I did finally catch up with, though, was a cattle egret. That's not the most exciting bird in the world, but it is quite unusual in Massachusetts. Only a couple are seen every year, I would say. And I was able to chase one and get some footage of it. It was a place in Essex, maybe 10 miles from Plum Island, called Peacool's Farm. Nice little location. The farm is right along the road, so you don't need to trespass into the farm. You can just look in. So I arrived there early in the morning and there was another birder already waiting to try to see it. This was a birder that I know from my home patch actually. And just as I was parking my car along the road, I saw the bird fly out and I thought I was going to get it right away. But as I scrambled for my camera and got out of my car, it took off and it looked like it was leaving, unfortunately. But we did go just a little bit north and locate it in a large field at quite a distance here. So I got this photo here that you can see, which is really bad. You know, I would have been able to count this one, but it would have been a pretty disappointing look. But fortunately, it took off and started flying around. So I got some flight shots here, which are much better than the one sitting out in the field. And I actually returned then to Pico's farm where it had been seen the day before. And at this point, I was able to get some video of it walking around. Still not real close, but much nicer looks. Western cattle egrets were originally native to tropical areas of Africa and Asia and also a few areas of southern Europe. They only appeared in North America in the 1940s. Interestingly, this was due to natural range expansion rather than human introduction, driven in large part by the presence of livestock. As you can see from this map, their primary range still does not reach up to Massachusetts, however. So I stuck around at this location for a while and the sun eventually came out and kind of lit up the bird. It was actually backlit, but this is a case where I think the backlighting actually looks kind of nice here with the rim of sun around the bird. Of course, it's always nice to have some brighter images. One more point about the status of cattle egret. Despite the fact that they have been present in North America for less than 100 years, they are now considered to be a native species because they arrived by natural range expansion rather than by human introduction. I actually quite like this photograph I got of the backlit cattle egret here. I think this came out pretty nice. So cattle egret is number 247 for the year, and that is where the list stands as I'm talking to you right now from Plum Island. So we have 3 more to go to 250, almost 2 months to do it. We should be able to get it, right? I'm not going to say I'm nervous yet, but things have been slow. September was such a great month, and I think I only added 2 new birds in October. So that was, you know, I always knew that was going to be a slow month with the travel though. So for the next 2 months, I will keep going and hopefully we'll have 250 before too long. So thank you very much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.